priorities thing was some sort of remedial thing in August. If that was going to be necessary, and how would we fund it? So that's sort of a similar thing to what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, I'm actually thinking about things like, extending the school year right now. I know there's problems with, the teachers union and all that, but
All right, well, this is a good conversation, but it's really not on our agenda. And I want to get back to the budget.
That's fine. I'll get off of it. But I would just say that, I'm all for extending whatever time period we need, whether it be graduation or whatever else, till the end of June, because we've missed so much time, and especially when we're not going to school on Wednesdays too. I mean, it's just missing a lot of time.
No, I hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm putting that into kind of the future agenda items if there's a financial piece of that.
Yep, that sounds good. Yes, Chelsea.
I wanted to go back to the fiscal year numbers, although I will just echo, I'm not going to follow the tangent, but I will echo that I think that's a great idea, and I'm really glad we're thinking about it. And I think that should be something that there is a huge fiscal impact. So I think we should discuss it. Sorry, I completely lost my question.
You're going back to last year's budget here.
While you regain that thought, I just want to let you know that we have we are streaming this meeting on YouTube right now.
Are we doing that normally now?
I'm trying to do that for the committee meetings.
Okay, I'll let people know, because there are a couple of people who are interested. Year to date, oh, that's what the question was. What are we, I know that when we started the year, you said you weren't going to do any unnecessary spending. We were just starting the year with bare bones plus COVID. So I'm curious, we're underspending by $1.2 million. What are we not spending money on? I know I remember we had that list of things that we could potentially cut, but I'm not sure which of those we actually did end up cutting at this point.
So there is money that we're not spending in athletics. That's part of it. There is money in special ed that we're not spending. We have unfilled staff positions that we don't need, that, Janet has gone through and decided that she can reconfigure what she has right now based on, the real needs of, the classrooms. The other areas, I had this ready for the last meeting last month. I went through this and I will try to remember. You'll see that special ed is 48% spent, and you'd expect it to be 54%, so that's 6% underspent.
Extracurricular is big.
It's a big percentage-wise, but yet it's certainly probably $100,000 right now. The other area, transportation, I believe, is down. Facilities is down. Yeah, transportation is at 40%. Facilities at 45%. So those two areas are areas that we've been able to use CARES or CRF money for some of it. Technology, we had a kind of a single number budgeted for technology for the MLTI program, which we ended up purchasing that 5th year of instead of spending that money. And the money that we had earmarked for that, what we might use it for in terms of technology, we've been able to use and put into COVID projects. So it's been more of a balancing act, but I think that we've maximized the usage of our CRF money and enabled us to save the kind of the contingency money that we had built into the budget, without but still being honest with our affirmations to the state and to the federal government that none of the money that we've spent CRF funds on were budgeted in our general fund budget.
So a couple of things. So some of this does look like it's probably situational rather than sustainable. But I'm also, these are savings we can probably do this year, but I'm assuming we're not going to be able to sort of apply this to future budget years for the most part. I'm also wondering the athletics, because some of the fall sports are moving to spring. Are we expecting to spend some of that money later, or do we think that's going to continue to be underspent this year? And I understand that it depends on virus things that we do not know, but.
I'll go back to the one statement that I've said all along, and I said it again tonight. I'm comfortable. I feel that we're in a good place being underspent the way we are. I would love to think that we could get through the rest of the year being at that level, but I'm not convinced that things won't change that might require us to spend the full, extracurricular budget, that our transportation budget might increase for some reason.
So what kinds of things might contribute to that?
I don't know. I don't even know what I don't know.
You sound like vice president.
My wife comes home from work every night with more and more stories from the clinic, and it's some of it's, as telling John, it's getting messy out there.
Yeah.
So
I think I just want to add, though, that our approach is right from the get-go has been cautious and conservative. We're trying to stay in the best place possible in terms of spending. So we're watching everything like hawks. Now, as things open up, vaccinations occur, virus, infections go down, some of the spending may start to go up, but that's our approach to this whole year, is cautious and conservative in terms of spending.
And in terms of budgeting for next year, I don't think the baseline budget is going to go down. But we'll get into that, in the next couple of months to kind of figure out what the budget should look like. I think that we really need to take kind of a somewhat zero-based approach to our budgeting next year with what we've learned over the last year.
Right. Yeah. It's a shame that some of these are not costs that we can sort of learn from, but we've shifted them.
It's well, I think I'm not sure if we've shifted them or we just eliminated them for a year. We've temporarily eliminated them. I do think that we as a board, as an administrative team, have done a really good job at choosing expenditures that we would have had to spend over the years anyway. I think that, purchasing buses and transportation vans that are, will be replaced anyway. Technology that will help us, hopefully do things differently. Like we said in the past, enabling, different schools to offer the same class to different students in different parts of the district. So I feel good about that. It's not going to be, it's going to be hard to identify, but I think we're not going to be into bus leases for a couple of years. I think we're caught up for a little bit, and we'll see some of the other leases expire in the interim. So we may get some savings, like we get interest savings every year in our bonds. We may see some leases expire over the next couple of years that we don't have to replace right away, and that will be more of a strategic decision of the board of, do we shift that money into contingencies to kind of keep that baseline up? Because we all know that the public just looks budget to budget, percentage to percentage. That's really what we look at. And if we cut it one year and we have to add it back a year later, it just looks like a much bigger increase. So that's going to be strategic. If you cut 100,000 one year, but you've got to add it back plus the increase the year after, it just looks like a bigger increase than it really is.
On the other hand, you've saved $100,000. The one category I didn't talk about was special ed. So we're not filling some of that staffing. Is that because we have so many students who are remote learning and so their needs are different, or have our needs actually changed in any material way, or our understanding of those needs?
I would have to defer to Janet on that one. I don't know the answer to that. I know just, you know, when we talk, she's just been able to shift people around. You know, she's got other problems. She's, you know, we're trying to, you know, our psych examiners, you know, are either we're short one, plus we have one that's out for a couple of weeks. So she's shifting some of the responsibility of academic evaluations and emotional evaluations. They're shifting. She's shifting things around. In her shifting, she's been able to kind of keep some, you know, ed tech positions open, primarily.
All right, we can ask her about that another time.
I did note on the somewhere.
Yeah, I will say I didn't have a chance to look.
Yeah,
look
so,
at
this,
anything.
you know, we want to give an update of what's coming. You know, she did give us a heads up that we may have a student going to a district placement. It hasn't been decided yet, but she seems to think that may be coming down the road in the next couple of months.
Okay.
Any other things you want to point out, Peter, or anyone else has some questions about the year-to-date budget?
Nope. I had some CRF stuff, but not for that.
Do we want to go to that, or we got 40 minutes left?
So let's go to CRF. And
There's the first question is, were you able to spend all of the money in time?
we were able to spend all but about $400,000. But, you know, and I'll tell you that, you know, John and I both got an email about, let's see, it looks like 20 minutes ago now. It says that we are from the DOE. We are pleased to share, The end date for CRF funding is extended from 12/30/2020 to 6/30/2021.
Oh,
And that's for that 400,000.
That is for all the total amount, but we pretty much encumbered all but 400,000.
it's nice that they waited till now to tell us that.
I know. Would you have done things differently if you'd known that?
I don't know if we would. I don't really know if we would. I think we made good decisions and adjusted them as we went. I think I made a budget. I did a budget adjustment with the DOE on both CRF1 and CRF2. I think on December 13th. So I think even then we were shifting. We knew there was something that we weren't spending money on, so we were able to commit to some additional. Primarily ventilation type projects that were that kind of became more apparent as we got into certain areas of buildings. We realized that we had some space over at the middle school that never got unit ventilators when we were doing the Siemens project. So we were able to actually hopefully encumber money for those 2 ventilators, which actually included shifting 2 windows around. So we were able to add that to the project and get that approved. So I think, again, I think we've done a huge amount in facilities with ventilation and with the 4 bathrooms over at the old South School in the wing nearest the cafeteria to potentially.
5th grade wing. Yep.
Yep.
So I guess 2 questions. What was the total of both parts of it? Was about like 2.8 million altogether?
2.85, 2.9 million.
All right. And then the toilet rooms, those would be for future kindergarten use?
That was the idea behind that, was to make sure we had some rooms, some classrooms that had that ability to be used for the younger grades.
So were these built, or, I mean, what was the work, or is it just that you just able to apportion that and it's there?
Well, it's been done. It's almost all done. Yeah, they've been working, and again, this is the idea was, you know, until a couple of days ago, or until officially, just now, you know, those projects needed to be finished and in service by December 30th.
Yep.
So that was what we went through, and even though I heard rumors before December 30th, John and I didn't tell anybody.
How are they in service? So because I know there'd been some conversations about what we're going to do with South School, but we didn't actually have any plans for it. So I'm curious what the actual plan for using those rooms is.
There was just an area that we thought there was an opportunity to use some of this money to give us capacity.
How do we justify that? I guess is the question I'm asking.
I'd have to pull up the application to show you exactly how we justified it.
Okay, because I guess when you say that they have to be in use, are we actually using them?
No, they've got to be done.
Like working, like
You gotta-
working. What's
The
the,
water's got to come out of the
you
faucet.
hit the thing?
Wait, so does in use mean water's coming out of the faucet, or kids are actually turning the faucet on and off?
No, water's got to be coming out of the faucet. Again, the way I see these funds, these funds are intended to give us the infrastructure to allow us to go from fully in person to fully remote. So, we've got 4 buses, and I've been very specific with Roy not to put them in service, because right now we don't need to use them. I don't want to, I don't want to all of a sudden put 4 new buses in service and put 4 buses out of service. That just looks like we're just replacing buses with the money.
Okay.
So product needs to be purchased, and product needs to be in our hands by the 30th. That was the projects that were, services need to be done or provided by the 30th. Payroll needed to be worked by the 30th, although you could pay it later.
In a bigger view, we're looking forward to a time when we're fully in person and our enrollment again reaches the level that it should be, as opposed to some students being remote or a lot of students being homeschooled, because our homeschool numbers are pretty much more than double what they are in a normal year. So, we're trying to plan forward to a time when we have our student population back again and we're fully in person.
I have one more question, but Gerald, did you have something?
Yeah, if I could just give you some edification. So where South School is now is actually designed as a middle school. And so the classroom sizes are set for middle school, but kindergartens require like a 1.5 times space just because of the nature of kindergarten. And they also require a toilet room in them because, as you can imagine, there's a lot of toileting issues. So that was the idea about allowing for the kindergarten to move to the old 5th grade wing. So we needed to install those toilet rooms, and this is a good opportunity to actually do so.
And obviously hand washing is, even more of a priority than it ever was. So, it's always been that case, but yeah, the state recommendation is for 1,000 square feet for kindergarten for pre-K, K, and 800 square feet classrooms for 1st grade and up.
I got a couple questions, Pete, if I could.
Sorry, I interrupted Chelsea though. You had one?
No, Doug, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chelsea. That's fine. I'll ask my questions when you're done.
Okay. I was just wondering what the conversations are about spending that remaining 400,000, because I'm curious if we're talking about doing anything to provide more direct student aid, because we've been doing a lot of infrastructure projects, and having a 6-month leeway gives us a little more flexibility in hiring people.
We haven't discussed that right now. The projects that we've been approved are still the same projects. They just weren't we just couldn't get the product in time. Most of the money that we didn't spend revolves around the camera systems in the classroom, allowing teachers to teach remotely using a kind of a large wide angle lens. So that's really most of the money that. Probably 2/3, if not more, of the money that wasn't spent, and it was only not spent because we couldn't get the product in a timely manner. So we just, on December 24th, or 23rd, whatever day it was, when he said the order's got to be in by 4 o'clock today, we couldn't make the decision to do that. So we just let it, kind of, at that point, unfortunately, I thought we were just going to lose it.
So we still have plans for it. I was thinking it was 400. We didn't have plans for it. Okay. All right.
We have plans for every penny.
I will say it might be worth thinking a little bit. It does seem like cameras, for instance, would help do some of that direct student support, but I'd really like to see how we're using it for direct student support.
So we still do have, the CARES money, which is the additional 600,000 that we received in March that we have not really we knew that money had a longer lifespan. So that was part of the ESS ERF legislation. That's money that we've used. We've used one to hire a teacher for class
Ashwin.
size reduction. We've talked about using that money especially because we could easily do that for for staff or for support staff, social workers, or whatever else would be direct student support.
And when would we make those decisions?
Well, now that we've been given the gift of time, we're able to follow a little more normal process in terms of designating funds for different projects. So we'll bring forward our plans for that, and the board will have a hand in it as well. So that's good news for everybody. I mean, it was almost an impossible task to do what we did with the funding in that short time frame, and that's why the board suspended the purchasing policy and so on. But now that we do have time, obviously we'll revert back to our normal process.
Cool. Doug, that's everything for me.
We didn't at first plan on using that money for all of these projects, these classroom projects, the Admentum. But as the CRF money got announced, we were able to shift the expenditures to CRF, which had a much tighter leash on it.
Okay.
So I got a few things.
Yes.
So I just want to be clear, real simplistic. I may have missed something here, but that's okay. I know the deadline, I thought it was December 31st. Now I know it's December 30th. My understanding was we had $1 million, but we actually had 2.8 million.
We had 1.4 million in the first round and 1.47 million in the second round.
Okay. So these two documents I'm looking at is first round and second round. Is that what these are?
CRF 1.
And CRF 2.
Yep.
Okay. So we've already spent this money or have plans for this money. So I have a couple of questions about this in general, then I want to talk about something going forward. So essentially, I'm pretty much in agreement with what you guys did. I think the infrastructure stuff is probably, more one-timesy or two-timesy type things. And I definitely am in favor of that. Just for my own personal self-clarification, on the bathrooms that you put in, I guess you would say the old South School, were those located, are they in the same place now, or did you add those to the classrooms in the 4th and 5th grade wing?
We added them to the classrooms in the old South School. Is what Jerry calls the 5th grade wing. The first wing off of the
4th and 5th grade wing are together, from what I remember. And there's a bathroom around the corner around the hall. So you didn't refurbish that bathroom, you just put new bathrooms in those classrooms?
Correct.
Okay. What about the bathroom all the way down where the conference room is, where the kids are now? Did we do anything to that?
There's kids in the pre-K wing, and there's bathrooms in that already.
Right. Did we do anything to those bathrooms?
No.
Okay.
The only project for
So
bathroom was the 4.
Okay, so we basically added new bathrooms in the classrooms is what we did.
Yes.
Okay. So the other question I had was I guess it's the Corner's RF2, I guess, is the windows. I'm not sure, were those part of the middle school, or were those somewhere else?
Middle school and South School both had areas that needed window replacements for ventilation purposes.
Okay, so when you say South School, you're talking about the old middle school, South School, or the old South School?
I believe it's the old South School.
Okay, all right. So I'm okay with everything that's on here from what you guys did. I think you did a great job in a very short period of time. So obviously in this next bill that came out, we have, I guess, quote unquote, CRF 3. So in my thinking is we should continue on with some of the stuff that we've been doing. But like you said, We want to be smart about how we do it. So I would take a slightly different tack than what Chelsea's doing. I would say that probably in this case, we'd be looking at things like, for example, windows for the high school, or fix the lighting at South School. And John and I know we've talked about that a little bit. But, you know, I think there are some infrastructure things that still could be fixed if that money is permitted to use for that. And I'd rather see that money used for that than anything else myself.
I think the windows at the high school is definitely on our radar.
Good.
Yep.
I think the
And I'd
lights,
also like to put at least a couple poles at Southfield too as well, overlooking the school, of course, so for better lighting.
well, that would be, you know, I think we've talked about this before, you know, the project would have to be written in a way that would kind of extend our outdoor learning experience.
Well, if you have lights outside, you can definitely use it, is what I'm saying.
I think I
So,
think I can write a project.
particularly on the middle school side, where all those kids come into school every day and they play outside there, it's absolutely a great place to put at least 2 poles and some new lights that haven't been put in since 1993.
You give
Well,
me the
extend
ideas
the
and I'll
school
write
day.
the project.
Extend the school day, not the school year, and then we need the lights because it'll be dark.
They do it at Bowdoin College.
If you could all present that with a straight face, I'm happy to write it up.
I can do it.
And I think I would call the next round if you know, I think John will have more information later on, but I wouldn't call it CRF 3, I'd call it CARES 2.
It isn't even that. I will explain the whole thing in my report.
ESS CRF.
Okay.
I don't want to take up any more of this meeting with it, but I'll talk about it in my report and I'll explain exactly what it is.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
I'm good with this. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Okay. So we all saw the article in Village Soup about how the city actually now is looking at taking the McLean School over. Can we just get an update on what's going? If I remember correctly, when we talked about it last, John, you were going to reach out to Tom.
Let me jump in right away. Check your email. There's an email from me that is the letter I'm sending to the mayor on behalf of the school board and the school district, saying this is what we know so far, and this is what we'd like you to do. So I'm going to bring that up in my report tonight, and we can have a brief discussion about it. It's not a business item, but that's what I have felt, and Pete and John drafting it felt we should do it this time. I think, tell me about the city council. Are they taking this up like this Monday?
Monday.
So after I saw the article, I contacted Ben and asked him, Ben Dorr, you know, what's up with this? And he had no idea. So Tom had not talked to him. I'm not really quite sure what the driving force was to look at taking the building over, because it had been dead in the water for so long.
If you read the letter, Gerald, really, it'll tell you where we're at.
Okay.
And it'll give you a good indication. This is our public message to the city of Rockland, this letter. So I encourage you to read that before we start our meeting at 6:30. It'll
Sure.
the layout.
But again, in the meantime, though, I thought that John and Tom were going to get together and chat about it. I don't know if that happened or not, or.
Well, yes. So yes, we did. But that being said, we've been talking to Tom right along. And Tom has been fully aware of the fact that we are using the building and that we are not in a position to move the administrative offices over to South School at this point in time. So
There's just no room there.
But I did, right, and he knows that. And I did circle back with him. We did have a conversation and we covered the same ground again. And then shortly after that, Lauren and I got the invitation from the 2 counselors to just have an informal chat, and that's what we did.
Okay.
And that's all we did.
Okay.
Okay, so I just read the letter, Lauren, and I don't agree with it.
I know you don't.
Well, so on the other side of that, coin, we also have been aware of what the city's been doing. They were for a while meeting in our conference room, the committee to look at the use of that building. We facilitated a number, I facilitated personally, probably a dozen or so visits of people going through the building, assessing the building for a number of architecturally, so I think both sides are been very aware of what the other side's been doing and wanting, and really I think they were our conversations it was pretty clear that they didn't know what direction they were going to go with this building either, and I think when you go back to 2017 when the offer was made and the offer was accepted, even the city's acceptance is written in, it's in Lauren's letter, but it was very clear that it said that they will accept the building once all RSU 13 activities have ceased and premises have been vacated. That was their language that they chose. I think that kind of made, I think it kind of added some, there's no clarity to
There's no date certain that we had to be out.
there was nothing about that. And, so either certain counselors are struggling with that right now. They just want something to happen, or I'm not sure really what's motivating that. But I think that if you remember back a year and a half ago, in my report at our board meeting one night, I talked about the McLean building and that it was coming up in a city council meeting, and I went to that meeting just to to be there and to answer questions if they had any. They ended up bringing me up front and kind of scolding me for a number of reasons that none of them were true, but I think there was a lot of bad information then, and again, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I think that.
Well, your mistake was to go up to sit at the front of the table. I remember it.
I was invited. I really didn't expect. I really was hoping that I was really hoping that they could give us more clarity so we could make some decisions about the building. And even now, that's really what we're looking for. Is I think everybody wants the highest and best use of this building for the city.
That's the phrase right there.
It's the high. This is a real estate term, and I think anybody could, and when we first thought about this, the highest and best use was not, especially when we back in 2017 believed that we had space at South School that we could use. The highest and best use of this building was not us staying there, and in discussions and in informal discussions with the city ahead of that, they seemed to be thinking that they could do something with it. I personally, I think it's going to be exorbitantly expensive to convert this building. I think that for housing, but maybe somebody can do it.
Yeah, the only way to convert it for housing is high-end housing. Otherwise, the numbers just don't work.
And
So
Which the city actually needs.
So,
actually,
So
I want
let
to
me-
have a question specifically about this new letter, because I feel like a lot of this we've talked to death. So Lauren, given that, did you look at the city order?
From when?
So the one that from agenda setting on Monday that they're voting on this coming Monday.
No, I did not see that order. No.
Okay, so let me read you a line, because then my question is going to be, why are we sending, given this order, why are we sending this letter? So the order that they have is about a paragraph, the relevant piece. The city manager is also authorized and directed to work with RSU 13 to develop a concrete timeline and action plan for the timely transfer of the building. So they are actually doing what you're asking for. So I'm not sure why we're sending them a letter before we've received their letter. Do you want me to send you that order?
Nope.
Okay.
It's clarity on where we're coming from. It's clarity on the reality of the timeline of things and the clarity of what we want them to do now. So it's like our letter and their order being the same. It's like, all right, let's get this done.
I guess I feel like it's a little premature for us to send it before they have sent it. It feels like we're not connecting well in that.
Yeah, I mean, John or Pete, if you want to jump in with any ideas, but that's what I'm thinking. It's just clarity before they meet to talk about it.
And the other question,
I would,
what is the procedure for sending a letter? Because you're sending it on behalf of the board. Why don't we vote on that?
I think, well, I'm going to talk about it tonight in my report. And if there's a huge clamor to make any changes, I'll respect that and we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. The purpose of this letter is to lay out reality. We voted to do this. They voted to accept it. We've been discussing it. There are possibilities. Rockland, please give us your indication. I think that's the right way to proceed right now. And then they can send us their indication, and then we'll have to deal with that.
Yeah, but we've been talking about reversing this whole process, and this letter isn't mentioning that at all. In fact, we're actually saying, you tell us when you want the building.
Uh-huh.
I think that's kind of, I think that's part of, I think when we brought up a draft letter a couple months ago about, the process of rescinding the votes, it certainly didn't gain any traction in this committee. So, and I think given, the current discourse in the media right now, which I think needs to be addressed, obviously everybody's picking up on it. We get, John's getting calls from news organizations all over the state because of this. So it's getting traction. I know. Yeah, exactly. Who knows? Slow news.
my hair's all messed up.
Oh, right. Slow
No,
down.
exactly.
So let me jump in a little bit, okay? So
If you wait a second, Doug, I know you're against it. I know, I get that. But
it's not that I'm against it, Peter, but I want to say something about
I
it.
know. Okay.
Let Peter finish first, though, please.
So the construction of this letter was, the first three paragraphs were actually the same from the first letter, and that fourth paragraph, just kind of says again though, we're committed to working with the city council on any kind of use of this building, whether it be shared, whether it be we use it or they use it, but given the discourse, and I think it's only coming from a few people that's causing this, we are giving the council two different avenues to actually conclude what was committed to back into 2017. Either giving us a date certain that they want us out by, or taking it over now and we can set up a lease. It just gives them, the idea is to give them the power to do what they want to do.
I guess my question hasn't been answered yet. So the order that they are in the process of considering does exactly that. So why are we sending a letter in the middle of that process instead of waiting to see whether or not they approve giving us the timeline?
Well, maybe it's time to watch the video from the other night.
What do you mean?
I think
We had that conversation earlier.
I'm sorry.
So just who watched the video and who didn't.
There's a discussion the other night, and if you go through the Penn Bay pilot article, you'll read some of the comments that were made.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So my training in politics a while back was, you have a process and you complete it. So our process was, we want to give it to you. Their process was, we'll take it one day. And now the process is, well, we've talked about different things. Let's get this done. And like Pete said, in the end, they could say, no, we don't want it. In the end, they could say, well, can we share it? Is there some shared use? I don't know. I think we just remain open. I just want to do it now.
I
don't think we can just say, well, we changed our minds. I don't feel at all comfortable with that. I just don't.
I thought that's exactly what we asked John to explore with Tom.
Yeah, but we took actions. We took binding actions from
I
business.
did all that, but we asked John to talk to Tom about reversing all of this. Unless I'm mistaken, that's what I thought we had instructed John to do.
Well, we
Gerald,
didn't take a vote on that.
I don't remember it that way at all, Gerald, but everybody maybe has a different recollection of that meeting. But what I got from it was reach out to the city manager and discuss where we're at with the building. And where I got is we're at where we've always been. I have not been directed to do anything different
Okay.
by the board. That's my stance. So if it was a misunderstanding on my part, well, I guess that's it.
What John just said is my understanding as well, is that we're in a holding pattern.
And I think we need to get off the holding pattern. I think we're probably both groups are ready to do that. Again, I don't think there's a prescription right tonight as to what's exactly going to happen to McLean Building. I just don't. But we need to get off the dime.
I just feel that we should wait till we receive the results of their order and then respond to that rather than going off on this slightly weird tangent.
It does throw a spammer into the works.
A spammer?
I thought it was a spam.
Like a wrench or something?
Yeah.
Is that what a spammer is?
But I agree with Chelsea. I think it's, at this point it makes, we're only waiting, a week until Monday, not even a week.
I think this makes our position clear because our position has been very foggy at best since we made the vote 3-4 years ago. So my thought is, let's be clear from our point of view. This is a brief, quick letter that says this is clear. And then they can be clear from their point of view. That's my thinking. I don't think it's any harm done either. I don't think it's saying this is how the building must be used. I don't think it says that. It says methodically, this is what we agreed to. We've had some discussions, and it's basically time for you guys to act and tell us what you would like to do, and let's work it out.
Well, and on top of all this, if we do need to move the central office, that's a big budget impact because we have to lease space then. We can't move into something that we already own.
I think, is this live on YouTube right now, Pete?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm concerned about the building and future costs for the RSU. Definitely is concerning for me. Schools of Our Future 1.0 is and I like the term, let's right size the district. And we've done that. We still have a little more to go. We had to figure out recently, the last year or two, we really need the Old South School for some great programming for kids. That's really useful. And then now what do we do with central office? I'm not working there. I'm just a board member, but it seems like an awfully huge building for the number of people we have in the building. Can we do better in other places? And can we actually save money now and down the road?
Lauren, I'm going to say my comments primarily for the meeting, but I'm going to just say a couple things. We need to be aware of what the taxpayers are paying, not only in Rockland, but throughout the whole district.
Yep.
And I'm not saying you're wrong in your thinking, but I will say a couple things. I've been around here a few years, so I've seen the superintendent's office in 3 different locations. And this has probably been the one that's been in the longest that I can recall in a long time, at least since the 80s. Maybe 90s, I guess. So, and I remember how it got there. Okay, so I can remember how it got there. And I can remember where they wanted to do. And it's always been a bone of contention in the city of Rockland, where the superintendent's office is, how much it costs, why is it there? This is not a new issue in Rockland. It may be a new issue for you, but it's not a new issue in Rockland.
Okay.
And Tom Pico and I have talked about this as well. And I think that I'll have more to say when we talk about it in the regular meeting. But I think we're not taking consideration of the taxpayer and what we're doing. And I'm not disagreeing with you about consolidation with other city departments, or I'm not disagreeing with you that it might cost more money in the future. But until you can show me a plan where we're going to go to a new building that we're going to own with the city or whatever, and it's going to be a cheaper option and it's a better option for us, I'm not going to favor this. As simple as that.
Okay. I got to tell you that in 1 minute, I got to go do something that I haven't done for hours and then eat something because I'm not going to be cognitive here. So anyway, just to let you know, if I go dark.
All right, so we just have let's spend a couple minutes just on one last item, which isn't on the agenda. And that's just to follow up on our discussions with St. George. Is there anything to report?
Again,
do I
I'd
need to
rather-
do?
rather leave that discussion for the committee that we're going to put together to discuss. I think that other discussions might be better spent in executive session.
Okay.
Do I need to like form that, or John, are you going to form that group?
I think that we're just going to get some volunteers to help us through some of that, going through the numbers and things.
Okay.
What happened to the item I asked for? The student loan discussion.
Which one?
Oh, yes, that was the email from Chelsea about the student loan, about how a business can pay off their employees to a certain amount.
I didn't research it. I saw it and I didn't get a chance to research it.
Look, Pete,
But we're not a business, that's my point, you know, we would become out of
hold on,
taxpayer dollars.
hold on. So I will say, there are a couple of assumptions there that I think are wrong. So before we like disregard this, I'd like to actually be able to ask Pete some questions about it. Pete, can we schedule a call?
Yeah.
Just because
Yep.
you haven't called me back.
Well, I thought the emails that I saw
Well,
after.
If we had discussed it tonight, yes, that would have worked, but we're
I-
not. Therefore, let's actually make a time right now, so I don't have to send 3 emails. And the rest of you don't need to be here for scheduling. But I have a couple of questions and then I'll decide whether I want to formally bring it up because I just need some questions answered before I see whether it's a good idea.
Do you want to end the meeting first and then just you and I stay on here?
Yeah, that's fine.
So John, if you would go and start the other meeting, I think you're a other host. That would, then I know Jeff is looking to get on to get things started.
And we should kick Lauren off of this one.
Well, anybody, yeah, I think he's,
Well, no, because he's away,
I
so.
think he's busy.
Yeah.
Um,
I did forward your email to.
yeah, I remember, sorry, I remember seeing it and,
Yeah, the email doesn't really have my questions though. So and I think it's probably easier just to walk through how we do a couple of things like retirement and so forth.
So we got 4 minutes until the school board meeting starts.
Oh no, I think it's a quick conversation, but I don't think it's a 4-minute conversation, particularly when I wouldn't mind getting a cup of tea.
Okay. So you guys schedule your time to talk. We'll see you on the next Zoom. Thank you, guys.
We're leaving?
Yep, you guys are, or I mean, unless you want to hear about our calendars.
So I gotta get on a different, all right, see ya.